The greatest significance you find in this life is actually found through service. My name's Nathaniel Peat, and when I was young, I was really busy with my hands. You know, I was at home. Mum and Dad basically would get me to make things, cut things up. Primary school was really good for me. I did well at primary school. Mathematics was fun. Things which I engaged in. English was fun. It was stories. Coming from a Jamaican family, it was always about trying to do the best. Mum and Dad always said to me, Nathaniel, you can do anything you put your mind to. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't do that thing. But when I went to secondary school, something happened. Boredom set in place. I wasn't engaged in the curriculum. Suddenly, the fun that I was doing with my hands was stripped away from me. All the things that I enjoyed doing gradually became less interesting. In fact, the teachers weren't engaged. And when you're bored with your teacher and your teacher doesn't engage you, are you going to learn? If you don't like your teacher, are you going to learn? No. If you don't like your teacher, you're very unlikely going to learn. And that was me. And I fell into this negative type of mindset. I got bored and fed up with school. I didn't do too well at school. I started to hang around with the wrong people. So many of my friends actually ended up in crime. Some of them went to prison. Some of them ended up dead. It meant that I only got 4 GCSEs. None of them were maths. None of them were science. And for those in the international audience that may be watching this or streaming this online, you need at least 10 GCSEs to progress and be successful. But you need 5 minimum: math, science, and English to get into college. And I remember basically having this mindset of you can do anything. And just the context of it. My friend showed me a gun when I was about 16, 15 years old. That was what was happening outside. And I knew that. My mum and dad said, you can do anything you want. You can do anything you want. I had this ambition. I wanted to fly aeroplanes. I wanted to become a pilot. And so I went to one college, and I didn't get into that college. I went to another college and didn't get to that college because I didn't have the 5 GCSEs to get in. Neither maths or science, just English. And I passed English because my English teacher was a very effective teacher. He actually said to the young boys that were in the class, if you pass, I'll give you £100. All of us passed. He was a good teacher. Not because of that, but he just understood the mindset of us at that time. And so I went to one college and I managed to get the enrollment letter from my friend who had been accepted for the college. And we went into the college and he held it up and then he passed it back to me and I took it and I showed it and I got into the college. And here you've got this wannabe rude boy with a gold cap tooth, my eyebrows marked up, a pattern hairstyle. I used to bounce around with this bounce and I'm bouncing and I queued up in the A-level physics line with no maths. And I got to the front after an hour and the guy said to me, do you know what? Let me see your GCSE slips. And he flicked through and he saw failing maths, failing science. He only saw 4. Music, history, and English. And he said, you don't have the grades, you're going to have to repeat your GCSEs. And I walked off and I remembered in the back of my mind what was happening outside. I didn't want to fall into this negative spiral that oftentimes these black boys fall into. Knife crime and violence and guns and drugs. And I queued up again and I got to the front. I've been there for about 2 hours now. It takes a lot of courage to go back in, but that self-resilience, that self-esteem that had been built in my primary school was still there, and it took the knock. And I went back and I queued up again for another hour. I got to the front. The guy said, you don't have the grades. You're going to have to repeat your exams. I got up again and I said, I'm going to have to go back because it's a lifeline to survival. If I can get onto this A-level in physics without the maths, then I'm sure I'll be able to get on. And I basically went and I queued up again. And the lady sitting next to the person that was rejecting me said to me, I've seen you come back 3 times. Anyone with that level of determination and drive, I'm sure would be able to do an A-level in physics. And do you know what she did? She accepted me onto the course because she was the head of the physics department. She said, on the condition that you pass your GCSE maths because you're going to need that to go to university. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I went to university. I did a foundation of engineering degree, I did a mechanical engineering degree, and I did a master's degree in advanced manufacturing systems. And after that, I tried to build myself and business and doing different things, and then I became a pilot. So it was different because I had to change the way I spoke. I had to change the way I was doing things. Like, what you saying, man? What are you looking at me like that for, fam? What, you got a problem with me? And I would change it. Now it's Delta 212 Alpha inbound for ILS 15 request. Turn left heading 270 degrees, contact ground 119.4. And so I learnt by doing and understanding and knowing that I could do. That motivation was in me, and I wanted to then think about a way in which I could empower those that didn't have the grades. I wanted to find out if there was a way to empower those that didn't have the opportunity. I did have the opportunity, but I threw it away. I threw it away because I was bored with the way the education was being taught to me, and that's the problem, because many young people are not reaching their full potential because the education that they're learning is taught the wrong way. And so I then thought, how can I do something? We've got people in Africa, there's people in India that don't have the opportunities. And so I started a company with my business partner, Dawa, who's actually in Nigeria at the moment, a woman, because I believe in equality. And it's equal right the way down through the company. And we started this company called GenX. And this is what GenX does. We look at empowerment, electricity and innovation. Huge problems. When you're trying to create impact, and you have problems with lack of energy and energy poverty, when people live in slums, when they're cooking with fires, you've got issues where babies are dying because of indoor fumes. We have to try to do something about that. Communities struggle. Doctors can't perform operations. Vaccines go off. Children don't have the same opportunities that we have in developed countries like the United Kingdom or the United States or Canada. Energy poverty causes huge problems in education. They're not able to do things. They are incredibly disadvantaged. And so what we try to do is teach by doing. So by getting young people that are disengaged with science and technology like I was, teaching them how to build a solar circuit at age 13 and 14, and teaching them the circuitry and how to assemble that with their hands, and doing it around the world.
That I have completed the workshop, I feel so confident and anything is possible.
Inspiring young women and young girls. And we're in Africa where gender inequality is so rife across the nation. We empower women, teaching them practical skills with their hands. Because women are amazing. In the continent, they're heavily loaded. They are managers of their houses. They are experts in the garden. They're good at doing things, and this is why we've got GenX. It means a beginning and a breakthrough. A beginning and a breakthrough. Let's look at learning. You have studies which have been done. For example, the National Training Center, which is over in Maine, USA. When you're looking at the retention triangle, you find that the best learning is actually done through experience. Groups, and then in that group, teaching and practicing over and over again. I've got a 5-year-old, and he actually knows how to bake bread. Could he read at age 4? No. Did he understand the ingredients at age 4? No. But he watched Granddad do it. So he knew exactly that he needs water, he needs salt, he needs maybe some sugar or maybe some honey. He knows he needs yeast, and he knows he needs flour. And he knows he needs to knead it. And so at age 5, he's able to bake bread without reading, without actually knowing directly the ingredients. Why? Because he has learned how to do it through his hands. I believe that Learning through doing is the best and the most efficient way of teaching and engaging people. Let's look at the point of gender inequality in Africa now. We've got a population just over 1 billion. Over half of that are women. They don't get equal pay. They don't have the same opportunities in education. They suffer some sexual abuse. Others struggle to actually go high in their career. They're limited in terms of what they can do and what they can achieve. What would happen now if we connect Africa's development directly to science and technology? What would happen? We begin to teach them with their hand. What will happen to the productivity of a continent like Africa if we can connect women directly to STEM? Connect women directly to understanding that they can make things with their hands. What would happen to the production? This is how we talk about disrupting. And I'm talking wider than just Africa. I'm talking about Africa's diaspora, because there's many in other countries, in South America, in North America, scattered around Europe. And oftentimes this diversity issue hits these women. I read somewhere that it's Women's Year, and International Women's Day is coming up in March. And so really this is a message. Start to do more to become recognized. When you do and become excellent at what you do, then people will be forced to recognize you. If you're running a race and you're the best at running that race, someone will notice you. So this is about taking the limits off. It's about breaking the limits through doing. Let us think about how we can teach others. Have in your mind persistence. Look at those people who can inspire. Be determined. Drive forward. The only limitation that exists in your life is in your mind. When we begin to accelerate and when we begin to do stuff with our hands and we begin to do and practice over and over again and we collaborate with each other, we have that knock-on effect with each other, we are then elevating. And so this is a message to both women and also young people and also men. I want you to aspire to inspire others before you expire. Thank you. My name is Nathaniel Peat.